Protestants, modern Protestants, evangelicals you call them, they've got a problem amongst themselves because some of them are accepting a liberalisation of doctrine which other ones won't accept.
He says, rest on the Sabbath, and I rest on the Sabbath. He says, 6 days you shall work. I work for 6 days and I rest on the Sabbath. You don't rest on the Sabbath, so shut up.
You've just shown your God is false God. Your God can't. Your God can't eat, therefore your God is not all-powerful. Therefore your God is not God. Your God is a God, which is no doubt why in your book, Allah prays.
2 adults are talking. No adults are talking. I'm talking to another man. I don't need to listen to you. Shut up. I'm talking to this guy. Listen, I'm talking to a man. He's a man. I'm almost 50. I'm saying almost 52 men are talking. So I don't need to hear you.
Someone's already given me a hard recommendation. You're giving me a 7 out of 10 recommendation.
You should be interested in Augustine, probably because he was a Manichae. He was a disbeliever in Catholicism, and then he converted to Catholicism. He not only managed a huge diocese in North Africa, but he actually produced this vast output of work. He was like, not just a workaholic, but a man of extremely high intellect. When you read The City of God, which is a huge work.
See what happens when you ask a reasonable question.
Protestants lost their excitement at the prospect of destroying Catholicism. They were then faced with looking inward. If you, for example, are a Protestant who want to be rational, you've rejected Catholic miracles, you've rejected indulgences, but the question then comes, what is the authority? Well, the first Protestant said the Bible is the authority. But actually, once you start questioning, why should you stop? Why should you not question the Bible itself? We know, it's well known that Luther had real difficulties. In many ways, he's intellectually honest. He had to decide what books belonged in the Bible. Well, of course, he took what he regards as the Hebrew Bible, which he considered the 39 books in the Old Testament. Fine, that was his solution to that bit. But what about the solution to the New Testament? Well, he had this idea of a canon within the canon. The fundamental thing about Christianity is salvation by faith. Any book of the Bible that doesn't really assert that, you should chuck out. So we know he wanted to chuck out the letter of St. James, because despite what Protestants say today, Luther was more honest. Luther said the letter of St. James teaches contrary to salvation by faith, and therefore it must go. The book of Revelation, according to Luther, wasn't teaching salvation by faith. Therefore, is that from my thing? Yeah. All right, I'll just say this. The book of Revelation doesn't teach salvation by faith, so that must go. But of course, the Lutheran Bible contains those books. Why? Because less scrupulous, wiser heads than Luther persuaded him to not remove those documents. But he was honest. Protestants around him and after him have not been. So they accept the 27-book New Testament. Why then? They accept it because it's the New Testament of the Catholic Church. 27 is an odd number. There's no reason why it should be 27. There's no magic to that number. And there's no particular reason why you should have the particular documents in it that are in it. Unless you trust the Catholic Church to have chosen with a supernatural understanding of what books are inspired. That's what we say the Catholic Church did. If the Protestants want to deny it, they've got to go down the road Luther went part way down. They've got to go all the way down and start questioning why particular books should belong in the Bible. Why any of these books. And they have to go back to his Old Testament and say, why should we trust a bunch of crusty old Jews from thousands of years ago to tell us what books belong in the Old Testament? And what happens when you get to that point is you take the next step and say, there's no basis for having a Bible at all. And you get then these great minds of Protestantism in the 19th century who began to pick apart the books of the Bible as being purely man-made documents. Thus, Protestantism intellectually collapsed. And we get the denial in Protestantism of the resurrection of Christ, that Christ is God, that there's a hell, certainly you deny that. Any God that exists would be nice and fluffy. And of course you end up denying heaven as anything other than just a projection of what you want.
So did you say Christ is God?
I was talking about other matters. That was illustrative of the general point I was making, so hold fire.
Where is he God then?
So having got to the point where the Protestants have realised their religion logically leads them to deny every tenet of the 16th century reformers, the religion ceases to be until you get to the 19th century, the late 19th century, when fundamentalism asserts itself. And that's the religion of all these born-again Christians today that we find in the park. Is basically they get what they call the fundamentals: virgin birth, Christ is God, and all this other stuff. Bodily resurrection of Christ.
I didn't say it was.
I'm pointing to you because you just mentioned the theme. The theme. Now, that creates fundamentalism. But the question is, how can we know fundamentalism is true? We get back to the same problem. Why did the late 19th century American fundamentalists say that there are certain fundamentals which you must agree with? In fact, today, Protestants, modern Protestants, evangelicals you call them, they've got a problem amongst themselves because some of them are accepting a liberalisation of doctrine which other ones won't accept. Protestantism, in short, is inherently unstable. That's why the only refuge for a person who really wants to call themselves a Christian is either Catholicism or Eastern Orthodoxy. I have reasons for going against Eastern Orthodoxy, but because I've spoken enough and there were some comments from the audience or points raised, I'll stop there and let any question be put. Anybody got a question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I suppose he was first. He said something.
Sorry. What's Catholic? What's that about? Who is that woman there?
Okay. You asked who is this woman here?
And who is this guy? Who is this guy there?
All right. Okay. This is a painting of the Blessed Virgin Mary. This is a carving of Christ on the cross.
Okay. So is that his mom?
Yes.
So are they gods together?
No, because the Blessed Virgin Mary is purely human.
Okay.
What we teach is that in eternity, there's God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Where there's timelessness, before time is created, there's eternity, where God dwells.
So Jesus tell you to pray.
So it's not a passage of minutes
Okay.
in eternity. From there, God the Son descends into our human existence and it enters the womb of the Blessed Virgin Mary.
Like Adam.
And then overnight takes a human nature to himself, because God is pure spirit. So when he descends into the womb of the Blessed Virgin Mary, it's not like a body enters the womb of the Virgin Mary, as in, alien or something like that. And then he grows, and that's Jesus.
Appear. Why would he decide to go into a womb of a woman? Why would he want to do that?
Human experience.
Well, no, can I just ask him a question? Why? Well, for a human experience, you think God needs to have a human? You think he can't have a human experience? That he has to come as a human to have it? What kind of God are you guys serving? God, the creator of this world. For you guys to think that he has to enter a womb of a woman
Who said
to feel?
Who said I said he had to?
No,
You
that's
see?
what he just said.
Oh, okay. If you're answering him,
He
then
had to. You asked why, and I said
No,
all
but
the
where did
human
he say?
experience.
Okay, let me ask. Okay, let's. Who do we follow? Who do we obey? Whose
Jesus
voice?
Christ.
If God speaks, say for instance, he says A, and somebody else says B.
Yeah.
Who do we listen to?
all right.
If he says do A, and somebody else says do B, who do we listen to?
We listen to God if we want to listen to
No,
God.
not say if. So say for instance,
Yeah.
what is the name? You know the Exodus of Israel. The Exodus of Egypt.
Yeah.
Remember, when Moses went to Pharaoh. What's the name of the God that Moses gave Pharaoh that sent him? Because that's who we want to serve. So if Moshe said, Jesus sent me, then we follow Jesus. If he says, Allah sent me, we follow Allah. But Moses gave a name to Pharaoh. What's that name?
That
and
is-
you know where it is? It's in the book of Exodus chapter 5.
No, chapter 3.
Yeah, Exodus chapter 5. He tells
No,
you...
chapter 3.
Okay. Exodus chapter 5. This is when he went
What
to...
verse?
Start from verse 1.
Is that the verse where he says it?
No, so listen, start from verse 1. When Moses,
He said this-
Moshe went to Pharaoh. And he said, blah, 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 sent...
Oh, okay. I thought you said where he says what his name is.
Yes, what's the name of the God that sent him? The Elohim that sent Moshe to... What's the name? What's
Okay.
the name?
Okay. God says when Moses asks him who he is,
No,
shall he say?
no. What's the name
Yeah.
that he gave Pharaoh? Listen, am I talking? Listen. Shut up, man. Two adults are talking. No adults are talking. I'm talking to another man. I don't need to listen to you. Shut up.
Listen to you.
I'm talking to this guy. Listen, I'm talking to a man. He's a man. I'm almost 50. I'm telling you, almost 52 men are
almost
talking.
50.
So I don't need to hear you.
50.
So
I'm
they
almost-
shut and you should have some respect.
I respect this.
They shut up and let me talk to the man.
It's speaker's
So
corner.
what's the
we
name?
can free-
What's the
free
name,
speech.
my friend?
All right.
It's speaker's
Man,
corner.
two men are talking. You should shut
No,
up.
no.
No,
One man's
speaker's
talking.
I'm
You're
asking
an
a question.
animal.
Then I'm asking a question.
Not what.
If you can't control yourself, get
Control yourself. You're talking like an
Answer
animal.
the question. What's the name of the God that sent Moses to
Jesus
Pharaoh?
Okay,
Christ.
yeah.
Is that what he said? Let's see what he says. Let's see what.
He'll show you. He'll show
Okay,
you.
tell me where. You answer the question.
right.
Because
You've already made
he
a
wants to
mistake.
tell us he's already got it wrong. Let's see what he says.
Do you know what?
Go to the book of
Do you know
Noah.
what? Do you know what? All you do is anybody, because people say stuff all the time in crowds. You just have to totally ignore anybody who said anything else.
Okay, answer the question then.
That's the technique, right?
Answer the question then.
Moses actually asks, "Who shall I say sending me to Pharaoh?" And
That's
he
not,
says,
no, that's not where I'm talking about, man. I'm talking about what's the name of the God of Moshe that he told Pharaoh that sent him. It's Exodus chapter 5. I'm not talking about the name I am what I am. That's a different verse. The verse, if you know, if you believe in the God that came of Israel, you should know this question. This answer is a very simple question.
So the name of God is I am who I am.
Shirley Bassey, you're thinking of Shirley
That was in
Bassey.
Exodus 3.
No, you think of I am
You
what
got
I
it
am.
Right. It was in Exodus
And that's from
3.
I'm talking
Passion
about
Fall.
Exodus 5, not Exodus 3. The question is, what is the name that Moshe gave to Pharaoh? That the God that sent him is a simple question.
Yeah, go on.
What's the name? What name did he give him?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's I am who I am.
So he said to him, I am, okay, let's go to the book of Exodus chapter 5. Let me read, it says here, and afterwards Moshe and Aaron came unto Pharaoh. Thus said the Elohim of Israel, let my people go that they may make a feast unto me. And Pharaoh said, who is the Lord that they shall hearken unto his voice? I am the Lord, and there's none else. His name is the Lord, the Elohim of Israel. He's not Jesus. You guys are... His name is the Lord.
Are you gonna speak like a human?
Are you going?
Are you going?
Are you going?
Are you going? Bye.
Because I don't want to be here arguing with children. You understand? I want to talk
Okay, then
facts.
we don't want to. We don't want to argue.
Who's we?
ignorant.
Who's we?
Humankind.
I'm talking to you. You know.
Okay.
You have to, as I say, you have to block out those you don't want to hear.
You didn't even know what
Because
verse
otherwise
it
we'll
was.
never end up getting it. Because it always happens.
No, it's in verse 5. I just read it. It said thus.
And it's already said in verse 3.
No,
prior.
he said, I am who
But
I
you didn't
am.
know that.
On that verse, that's not what he said on that verse. That verse said, the Lord. He said, then Pharaoh said, who is the Lord that I might obey his voice? I know not the Lord. That's what he says in there. I know the Torah and you don't.
You
follow
don't know what I
Jesus.
know.
I just know
You
you don't
don't know
know
what
the
you-
Elohim of
You
Israel.
don't know.
You don't know him. If
Yes,
you knew
and
him,
you're damned because you don't know Jesus.
In a moment.
You're damned.
Jesus.
Because John says
Hold on.
in the book of John, it says you need to honor the Father.
Alright.
You need to honor me like you honor the Father. Jesus' words.
I have a question for you.
In a moment. In a moment. The Lord, you see,
never
Jesus
read
is
the
called
Bible.
Lord in the New Testament.
Yeah?
You've got to go beyond the word Lord, Kyrios.
Okay.
It's too generic.
listen, let me tell
So
you
you need to get to, when in Exodus 3, which is why I emphasize that,
But
the
I
actual
wasn't talking
name
about
is.
Exodus
No,
3.
I know, but Curious doesn't do it.
No,
Curious
I
isn't
asked you
specific
a
enough.
specific question. You knew it was a specific question.
Yes, but it doesn't help you get to the name of the Lord to distinguish him
No,
from
I know the
Jesus.
name of the Lord. You don't. He never said he was called Jesus. Jesus is a man.
Hold on.
Jesus was born. Come
yourself down a
on.
minute.
No,
Can't have
don't
a
lie,
conversation
man.
if you
Come
don't
on.
calm yourself.
He never became a man. The Elohim
Hold on,
of Israel
hold on.
is not a man, for he is not a
The word
man.
was God.
First Samuel chapter 22, he said, I am not a man that he lies. He's not the son of man. So stop that thing. Forget about the Elohim of Israel that he's a man, because he's not a man.
No, he
Nor the son of
became
man.
a man.
First Samuel
Correct.
chapter 16, verse
Honor
28.
the
became
father
a
like
man.
honor.
He
be
said
like you
in the
honor
book of
the father.
Deuteronomy, do not add to this verse and do not take away. We don't add to what it says in the Torah. We believe what it says in the Torah. He says,
Why you not
rest
wearing
on the
fixtures?
Sabbath, and I rest on the Sabbath.
Why you
He
not
says,
wearing
6 days you
fixtures?
shall work. I work for 6 days and I rest
You
on
wear
the Sabbath.
tefillin?
You don't
Do you
rest on
wear
the Sabbath, so
tefillin?
shut up.
Do you wear tefillin?
Do you deny the New
Do you wear
Testament?
tefillin?
Listen,
I'm
it's not
asking
about
you.
whether I deny.
No, I'm just asking
No,
you.
it's not about denying. Listen,
Oh, do
it's about-
you believe they're inspired
No.
texts?
because listen, he says in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 2.
I know you
No,
very
you
much
can't listen.
into. No, because I'm
It's
very.
not, but I'm gonna
very.
give you facts.
I know you're interested and believe in the Old Testament.
No, it's not
I
the Old
want to
Testament.
know-
It's called the Torah. It's
Call
not the
it-
Old Testament.
Whatever name you want to give
Christians
it.
call it the Old Testament because they claim.
Yeah, and you know what
Somebody
I am?
else came and said,
Yeah,
when
and what am I?
Elohim speaks, he's old. When he
What
speaks, it's
am I?
forever. It's
What am
not
I?
old.
You say Christians call the Old Testament. What do you think you're talking to now?
But I'm trying
So
to
don't
show
be
you the
surprised.
errors if you're on your ways.
Now then,
Let's see
I
what he
appreciate
says.
that.
Let's see
Tell
what
me.
he said.
Do tell me what you think of the New Testament.
I'm going to tell you what I think of it right now.
All right.
Because I don't want to use my words. I want to see what he says.
I'd like to
Okay.
hear your words.
No, because I can say, I want to believe, I want to do what he says. It's not about what I believe, is it?
I just want to.
If we go, okay, let me tell you what he
doesn't speak
says.
of the New Testament in there.
Let me
does
tell
it?
you what I believe in, yeah? He said, hear, O Israel, hearken unto the statutes and the ordinances which I teach you, that you do them, that you may live. You shall not add unto this word that I command thee, you shall not take away from it. So I don't add any books.
Now tell
I
me,
obey the commandments.
does that mean you don't believe in the New Testament?
It's not about belief. I obey what he says to me.
Can
He
you-
says to me,
Can you just?
it's for Israel. It's not for the nations.
Can you speak
guys
plainly?
of the nations, you've got a book that belongs to Israel.
My
The
dear,
point is,
do you
yeah,
stand there?
you
The
guys do
camera's
not
right there.
believe in
Oh,
the yellow.
camera's there. Do you stand there?
Please, I don't want to be on video. I don't
Oh,
wanna
well,
be
just
on
stand there then.
video.
You
I
should
know,
be
but I
off
don't want to
it.
be on YouTube.
Well, then
I
you
didn't know that was-
best stop then. We best stop then. Okay, all right.
You don't want to get it wrong.
Anyway, the point was, I was just asking you plainly. If I were to read from the New Testament, would you say it's pointless? Because I don't want to waste my time on the New Testament if you don't believe in the New Testament. That's why I was getting to that.
Because he told us, do not add to the Torah and do not take
No
away from
worries.
it. So we don't add to it.
No worries. That's all I was trying
So
to get
the
at.
question is, who do we believe? Who do we serve?
Hold on.
Do we obey Matthew or do we believe the Elohim of Israel?
No, fair enough. I understand.
He said in the book of
Can you stop a
Deuteronomy.
minute?
Okay.
Because
I want to say what he says. I don't want to go
and
by what I
that's
believe.
grand. No, that's great.
Okay.
But you see, if you don't believe in the New Testament,
Yeah.
there's no way of knowing whether Jesus existed.
Listen, you guys of the nations care about Jesus.
All right.
Because let me tell you what the Christians
Hold on,
did.
hold on.
Let me prove to you. Let me tell
I
you
wanna
what the
hear him
Christians.
say that again.
Hang on. Let
There's
me
no
tell you.
means of knowing
Let me
whether
tell you what.
Jesus
Okay. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what the Christians did.
No,
The
don't.
Christians. Hang on. Look
I
at
know.
Jesus. Let me tell you something about Jesus.
But we're
Let me tell you
going
what the
off a
Christians.
little bit.
Let me tell you what the Christians did.
In a minute.
I'm
'Cause
just-
I'll tell you
the
why.
Christian needs
I'll
to
tell
hear
you
this.
why.
They need to hear
I'll
this.
tell you why I wanted to stop you for a moment.
Why don't you want to
Because
hear the truth?
I do. I
Then
do.
let me
But
tell you the
all
truth
in
about
good
Jesus.
order. All in good order. Because you see, I am actually curious about your position, not just
I
you
believe in
telling me
Torah.
stuff.
That's it.
All right. Now that means then, when we talk about the Torah, we have to know how we can know that there is such a thing as a Torah that you should believe
Who
in.
is how we? Who is we?
How any human being.
No, listen, no. The Torah, yeah?
Oh, you then.
No, listen, let me tell you what it is, yeah? You see the Torah, yeah?
Yeah.
Just like today,
Yeah.
the nations don't want to obey the laws in the Torah.
Why should they?
Exactly. It's made for the children of Israel because we believe
How do you know
in it.
that? How do you know that?
Because today I believe in the laws in the Torah. That is why. Because
how do you know
your
you should?
forefathers in the nations did not believe in the God of Israel.
Why should
That's
they?
why Israel has that law.
Yeah.
We are Israel.
How do you know Israel has that law?
Because
how do
we
you know
got
you're
the Ten
Israel?
Commandments. Because listen, you know.
I'm listening.
Let me answer your question.
I'm listening.
Let me
Yes.
answer your
Go
question.
on.
It's
Go on.
like a Chinese man,
Yeah.
coming to the UK,
Yeah.
telling the UK
Yeah.
about the UK Constitution.
Yeah.
What is the English going to say to the Chinese man? This is the UK Constitution. The Chinese man can come
Yeah.
and give his opinion.
Yeah.
Do you? If a Chinese man want to tell, if I go to China
Yeah.
and I want to tell the Chinese man
Yeah.
how they should live,
Yeah.
they're gonna look at me and tell me to off. I'm not Chinese.
Okay.
Same as the laws in the Torah. It's
Yeah.
for Israel alone.
Yeah, but these-
you guys of the nations,
Yeah.
the Christians, the Muslims, and I'm about to prove to you
Okay.
that you're wrong.
What if-
you take up a book that belongs to Israel, just like today?
but tell
you
me-
don't want to follow the God of Israel.
I wanna know a
You
basic
don't believe
thing.
in the God of Israel.
I wanna know something
We
basic.
do. It's our book. not
Hold
yours.
on, hold
so
on.
You've got the book of the nations and you're trying to make sense of it.
Slow down.
It's not belief.
Slow
Listen,
down. Listen, the book
Let
itself.
me prove to you.
Before you tell me anything about
Yeah.
the book,
Yeah.
I want to know how you know that
Okay.
that thing called the Torah
The
is
fact that I believe
I
in
haven't
it.
finished my
that shows you.
sentence. I haven't finished my
I
sentence.
believe in it.
I haven't finished my
Okay,
sentence.
go ahead. I'll prove to you.
I wanted to know why I should believe
You
that
don't
this.
have to. Shut up. You don't have to believe it. You
No,
will
that wasn't
obey
the question.
law.
You know
what he's gonna
Listen,
want. You don't
all of
know
you
what
guys
he's
will
gonna
obey the law. That law
That wasn't
this is
the question.
a dictatorship. You have to obey
My
the
friend.
law.
know what he's
Or else
asking,
they're
you
gonna
know.
be destroyed.
You've got to wait for me to
You have
finish my
no choice.
sentence.
Those laws are forever.
You've got to
You
wait
have
for me
no
to
choice.
finish my
You
sentence.
obey or you're fucked.
Yes, but
There's no choice.
You've got to let me finish my
Yeah,
sentence.
but I'm telling you, the laws in the Torah is forever.
Because-
you obey or not, you have no choice. All of you will be destroyed, whether you like it
Okay,
or not.
okay.
Thou shalt not
Okay,
kill.
hold
Thou
on.
shalt not
Hold
steal.
on, I've not
Thou shalt
finished my
commit
sentence.
Those are holy
Can I-
laws
can I
for the
finish
nations.
my
And all
sentence?
of you guys, you look at those laws and you tell God every day,
Yes.
I don't care what you say.
Will you hold
guys
on?
are going to burn. You don't believe in the
Can I-
Elohim of Israel.
Can I ask my question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you sure now?
Alright,
You're
go
going to let me
ahead.
get the end of my sentence?
Go ahead.
All right. It goes like this. How do you know that set of books called the Torah is not just a bunch of fake books written by some guys 2,500 years ago who pretended to be Moses or the prophets and they just made up fairy stories? How do you know?
Do you believe in evidence?
Yeah.
Do you believe in evidence?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you believe Moses existed? Be honest.
As a Catholic, yes, but otherwise I wouldn't
Do
know.
you believe he existed?
Without Catholicism, no idea. No, I wouldn't believe it. If I was not Catholic, I wouldn't believe it.
Did the children of Israel existed? Were there people called the children of Israel?
I would have, without being Catholic, I would believe.
No, in history.
Yeah, no,
Listen,
that's it,
if you
yeah,
go to the British Museum, it's there.
Really?
You look on the wall,
on.
the children of Israel
Yeah.
is on the
How
wall.
far back?
They're not white
How far back?
either.
Hold on, hold
They're
on.
not white.
Hold
You
on.
go there
Hold
in
on.
the Exodus was
Yeah,
Egypt.
you asked
it's
me-
in the British Museum.
you asked me for evidence.
The
What is the-
Egyptians
what is the
were
evidence?
dark skinned. What?
What is the evidence in the British Museum
The
that
evidence
shows
there, you
the
see
Israelites
the
existed?
Egyptians. Thousands
No,
of
no,
years.
the Israelites. You said the
Now
Israelites.
I'm just about to tell you. I was there 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, what did
and
you see?
also, beautifully, there's a program on it's called the Exodus Decoded. In there, there's a stellar stone that they found in 1947. You know what it says? It talks about when darkness came over Egypt. This is independent of the Torah.
So do you have any? I'm asking for
And
evidence.
also for me also, I used to think I was Nigerian. And I tell you what happened?
Yeah.
When I went to a map, all of you guys can Google it.
Yeah.
Before the slave trade, you know what it says? It had the kingdom of Judah. I'll show it to you right now.
Can I ask you? Are you a Hebrew Israelite?
No, I'm not a Hebrew Israelite.
Ah.
I'm a Hebrew. I'm
Hebrew.
Judah.
Okay.
We're Judah. Not Hebrew Israelite.
Okay. Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
Would you say that because people have different terms? Some say they're the.
I know. I believe in the Torah alone. I'm Elijah. I'm written about in the book of Malachi, chapter 4.
Okay.
You read and you'll hear about
All right.
me in there.
Now, thank you. Now, this guy was waiting to ask me a question. Can he do
Well,
that?
let me prove to you Christianity is wrong. Let me tell you what.
Well, I just wanted to give this man.
Let me
a
prove that to you.
chance.
It's going to be the last thing.
Let him have his
No, I'm
question.
going to prove
Do you
to
want
you
it?
guys
Or
that
you want to
you're
wait?
going to die. Let me prove.
Do you want to ask or not?
Listen,
No?
listen.
No?
Listen. Let me prove to you. Listen.
All right.
Listen. Yeah, listen. Yeah.
I'm not.
Christians.
No, you
No,
can't
let me
prove to
prove
me.
it. I'm gonna prove it.
I'm
Because
here
my
to
friend,
answer
the only way to serve Him is obeying those commandments. It's not about belief in Jesus.
No, you're not
You
proving
have
to me the
obey
Torah is
those
true.
commandments.
You're not proving the Torah to me yet.
No, you have to obey the commandments.
You have not
when He
proved
tells you to
you have
rest,
not proven me there are any
He tells you
commandments.
He created this world in 6
You've not
days
proven
and
to me
you
there
rest
are any
on the
commandments.
Sabbath, and you're meant to rest.
You've not proven this is not a
You're meant
fairy
to rest.
story.
You're meant to rest on the Sabbath.
Who says?
Our Elohim of Israel.
Where does he say that?
He says it in the book of Deuteronomy, my friend.
It's fake, mate. It's fake.
Exactly.
It's fake.
Because it's not for your nation.
So
You
don't tell
believe
me
in
then.
this guy.
So don't tell
You
me
believe
about
in
it.
a man.
So
You
don't
want to
tell
worship
me.
a man. You look at the laws of our
Okay.
Elohim and you
So
throw it
then-
away.
so
You think
then,
on that day,
don't tell me
you
if
are, my
it's
friend,
not for me.
Those laws are forever.
If it's so, but that's not for me. Chap, that's good to establish. That's not for me. That's not for me.
Christianity is wrong.
No
I'm
points.
going to prove to you Christianity
I
is wrong.
appreciate it, but there's no
Do you want me
point.
to prove it to you?
No.
You don't want me to prove it?
No.
So you want to die?
Yes.
Oh. I
You
can
tried.
prove to
You tried.
Let me prove to you Jesus
No.
is wrong.
No.
Do you want
No.
some sort of prove it?
No.
You don't want to prove because you know
No
why?
need.
Because you guys are sick. You guys see
sick.
those laws
I've heard it
and you
before.
throw it back in his face
heard it
and you want to claim that you love him. You are my friend. You are. You want to worship this human being.
Thank
You guys are.
Yes, right.
Thank you very
Much obliged. Have a nice day. Lovely talking to you. Now, you, sir. There'd be. Oh, all right, whichever.
Okay.
Do. I can't really hear very well.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it. That's better.
That's it. Open.
Now, are you going to be as reasonable as this man? Because there's a high standard here now.
No. I'm not very good. I'm just wondering. Your God eating food, right?
I eat food.
No,
Oh my God!
Your God, Jesus.
When he took a human nature to himself. Yes, having a human nature,
How
he
God
tamed
eat
himself.
food
Then he
like
took food.
us. How God eating food like us.
So you're saying, hold on a
Jesus
minute.
God is
Okay.
eating food like you
Right.
and me.
So you're saying your God is not all powerful.
I'm just asking you how your
That's
God
all right.
eating
I know.
food like
No, I heard the question.
Okay, since Jesus
I heard
is a
the question.
God, since Jesus is God, why you don't consider Adam a God like Jesus?
Wait a minute. So let's see. Your God is not all
Why
powerful.
not? Because you don't like the food.
Now don't talk to him. Don't talk to
I know
him.
him.
Don't distract it.
I know
Don't let him
he's a smart
distract
guy.
you.
He knows better than us.
So
That's
then-
why he's gonna go by himself to heaven, and we're gonna go to the heaven, hell.
So
So I'm just
you
asking
don't. Your God, whoever your God is, Allah, I think. You don't. Your God is not all powerful.
I don't know the answer to this. The Prophet Muhammad ate, didn't
He's a prophet. And Jesus is a prophet.
okay.
Yeah, you heretic. Don't you dare.
Because I don't know.
Yeah, the prophet is not God. You don't consider him a God. Powerful son of God. Muhammad is a prophet. Jesus
I know
is a
he
prophet.
is.
Focus on here. Your
Jesus
God.
is a prophet.
It's a sin.
There's something your God can't do, right? Your God can't do something, right? So your God is not all powerful. Therefore, your God is not God.
You are
Therefore, your
Jewish, by
religion
the
is
way.
false. Out of your own mouth, you've
Do you
shown
have-
your
do you
God
have
is
the
false.
Bible?
That's a separate question now.
So which one?
We're
Which
dealing with your
Bible?
first
You have
question.
million
We're dealing
Bibles.
with your first
Which one you
question.
don't believe?
You've just shown your God is false God.
God can't.
Your God can't eat, therefore your God is not all powerful.
Your God can't.
Therefore your God is not God. Your God is a God, which is no doubt why in your book Allah
I have
prays.
a simple question for you. Simple question.
Why does Allah pray?
Why
Because he
does
can't
Jesus-
eat. He prays for the ability to eat, I
Because
suspect.
Jesus is a human being like you and me. He's not all powerful. God created him right.
He's not all powerful. Your God is not all powerful. Allah can't eat. He's not all powerful. What else can't Allah do?
Loads of things.
There's a whole list, a shopping list of things
No
he can't do.
miracles. It's
And you know it.
Your knowledge and
No
and
miracles.
It's beyond our knowledge.
Because you are arrogant.
I tell you what,
miracles.
hey, here's something. I'm more powerful than Allah.
When you are arrogant, you never believe.
Pay attention. Pay attention.
He's arrogant. If I ask him
Pay no
this one,
attention
he's
to
gonna
him.
get a glass of water.
Look at me.
He's gonna-
Look at me.
Like this one.
Look at me. Look at me.
I ask him,
Look at me.
this iPhone, he says,
Look
"No,
at
glass of
me.
water."
Look at me. Listen. Not only.
I know him.
Not only.
They are deluded by people. By
Listen. Answer this if you can. listen to me, listen to me. Not only is your God not God, but I am more powerful than your God. Because I can eat food and your God cannot.
A lot of crazy people saying like you.
I can eat food and your God cannot.
I know. I have a homeless, he said I'm God. I know. They don't know their own book. They ask him loads and loads.
You see?
Okay, why do you consider Adam is the son of God like Jesus? Can you have answer for that? Why you don't consider Adam as a son of God like a Jesus?
Because he's not God.
Because they believe Jesus is the son of God. They don't believe God, he can do whatever he wants. They deluded by the way.
We don't believe that God can do what I've just told you. Our God is all powerful.
You don't know what's written in the scriptures.
He asked a reasonable question.
If you are not ready to, I don't
No, I think I can answer it. Adam is a son of God because everyone is
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah?
Jesus is
he's
God.
Yeah?
He said, and I feel like
Right.
Absolutely. That's what they believe.
Oh dear, okay.
Okay,
wait a
end the conversation. I know how you think.
Ah, you're running away. You're running away. If you didn't think you were losing or you were going to get hammered, you'd stay because you would want to show Islam to be this great religion and falsify us. Wait here. I'll answer you now. I'll answer you now. I'll answer you now. I'll answer you now. Stop running. I'll answer you now. Jesus is the Son of God.
have you read it though? Have you read it? What did
Bye bye.
I'm fasting.
Bye bye. You're fasting. Why are you fasting? You're fasting in the pagan month of Ramadan. You are fasting on the pagan month of Ramadan. Why do you fast a pagan fast? Why do you fast a pagan fast in the pagan month of Ramadan? Why do you follow a pagan month? A pagan fast?
I've got a really quick question.
Good.
And if it's offensive as a Catholic, if it's offensive to ask a Catholic this question, I apologise in advance, right? As an aid to prayer,
Yeah, it's disgraceful.
as an aid to
That
prayer,
reasonable man, just like he's a scholar.
and you'll be able to deal with this in about 15 seconds, I expect. As an aid to prayer and meditation, somebody recommended the Confessions of St. Augustine.
Right.
Right.
Don't please, Americans say Augustine.
Yeah, I know. St.
We must say
Augustine.
Augustine.
No, we don't, because St. Augustine is a town in Florida. He's St. Augustine, is my understanding.
Yeah,
Right?
that's it. We should say that.
It's arriving
Augustine.
via...
No, Augustine.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm just a
All right,
nitpicker.
Christy, I'll take
You know.
that. It's arriving via eBay Tuesday. I say it was recommended to me as an item of spiritual growth to aid meditation and prayer. Have you read it? Do you like it? What can I expect? If
Okay.
it's offensive because I get
Okay.
he might not be a saint in the Catholic sense, I want a mini book review.
Some say that it's the first modern autobiography,
Right.
or the first real autobiography. It starts off where he's talking about his life and how he came to conversion. And he goes on to discuss his philosophical matters. Now, it's over 20 years since I read it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So the great detail of it I can't.
I'm asking you because
give
you
you.
know your onions and.
But I would say it's good to read, but his corpus is vast.
Right.
You know, if you wanted to know his doctrines on various matters, then you'd be there till the end of your life. But the Confessions is a good place to start. In fact, I did get given me by an ex-girlfriend a mini Confessions of St. Augustine where they took like the essential autobiographical stuff where he's not engaging in theological musings. But yeah, it's worth it.
All in all, you dig. And I don't know quite how to phrase this. Do you regard, I nearly said do you regard him as kosher? That's not what I mean. Do you regard him as...
He's a doctor of the Catholic Church, which means
He's all right in your book.
The Catholic Church officially treats Augustine as one of the greatest minds in the Catholic Church.
And do you?
I have no choice.
All right, okay, good. So you're giving me a mini recommendation. Someone's already given me a hard recommendation. You're giving me a 7 out of 10 recommendation.
You should be interested in Augustine, probably because he was a Manichae. He was a disbeliever in Catholicism, and then he converted to Catholicism.
All right.
His mother was a Catholic already, and she prayed for him and everything. St. Monica, she became a Catholic. He became a bishop. He not only managed a huge diocese in North Africa, but he actually produced this vast output of work. He was like not just a workaholic, but a man of extremely high intellect. When you read The City of God, which is a huge work,
See what happens when you ask a reasonable question,
then
by
you-
the way.
you get a-
If we could have a row now, you get a massive row. Sorry,
The City of God is it's like, you know how Marx's Capital is an attempt to give us a sweep of historical development of capitalism. Well, it is anyway. It's Marxist theories like that. St. Augustine's City of God is a similarly thick book, and it's an attempt to justify to pagan Romans that what's it a phrase I've heard, that history is the march of God through time.
Okay.
And it like shows how Rome, far from being weakened by converting to Christianity, had its life extended because of the conversion to Christianity.
Okay.
And he goes through a whole load of stuff. Again, it's decades since I've read The City of God,
Yeah, sure.
but I would recommend it.
Okay, and I was recommending a confession. I can never remember. What's your first name again?
Phil,
Phil just answered a reasonable question in a reasonable way and we had a nice exchange with no argument.
we often do.
No,
we never
we
argue.
often do. Because there's little bloody lunatics. Fine.
It's true.
Did you witness that? We had a reasonable exchange. Did we have a crossword? Did one of us raise our voice other than there's traffic? Did one of us raise our voice? That's how it's done.
Yes.
That's how it's done. Right.
That is classic Speaker's Corner.
No, it's
In the
not.
days of in the days of decorum and propriety.
Yeah, but I prefer that because I want the engagement, not shouting at
Yeah.
each other.
Right. Well, that's arriving tomorrow morning. Next time I'm here, I will tell you what I think.
Yeah. I'll see you again.
Thank you. Have a lovely afternoon.
Cool. What
Right.
there, brother?
Well, I was just talking to a very animated Israelite, as he calls himself. Others might say Hebrew Israelites. I've heard others call them Black Hebrew Israelites. I don't know whether they're all the same faction, but it seems to be a similar kind of worldview, where there's a complete focus on the Old Testament, as we call it, and an interpretation of it which is quite out of the ordinary, out of the mainstream. This gentleman was very animated, and so it was very difficult to get to the heart of issues such as why an Israelite or a Hebrew Israelite would even consider the Old Testament to be valid. What is the historical basis for that? Because without, I would say, the Holy Catholic Church, one cannot assert that documents referred to as the Old Testament or the Torah are valid, because we're not Jews. Even Jews, present day Talmudic Jews or Rabbinic Jews, one might say, can only assert that the Torah is valid if they refer to their oral law, which takes them back to that. So that's the Hebrew Israelite problem, but you can't get it anywhere when you've got somebody who's too animated and too emotional. That's Hyde Park, and we don't mind that. The last one was a Muslim chap. He wasn't really willing to go into things very far, and so one couldn't get very far with that. So all I was left with was saying, well, you know, if God can't eat, then God's not all powerful. And therefore God is not God. And if anyone believes in the God who can't eat, and that gentleman believes in Allah, then we must only conclude that Allah is not all powerful, and therefore Allah is not God. But that was really as far as I could get with him before it became a little bit incoherent. So that's the conclusion of today thus far.
God bless you.
Okay, and God bless you too.